call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to ask all of you to remain standing. For a moment of silence for our past members of this district, Maggie Heath, who was a very instrumental person in our special education program. She is definitely going to be sorely missed from this district. Her laughter and her camaraderie, and certainly her knowledge of the educational process, along with Mr. Art Thomas, who also grieve in his passing as well. Thank you. Be seated. Just going to give you an idea of how we're going to proceed. We're going to have a presentation of the proposed capital project for the district that's coming to vote on referendum on December 4th. Superintendent Lisa Wiles will do the presentation along with Assistant Superintendent Ms. Napoli. Once the presentation is concluded, we will take questions from the public. However, we are going to be writing those, the superintendent will be writing those questions down so that we can get back to each and every one of you. We ask that you provide your emails or contact number following this presentation. Superintendent Wiles?
So good evening. Up on the screen behind me, and this is being televised out to the public, we have a presentation that we're putting forward. It has to do with the upcoming capital project referendum on December 4th. I'll be going through a number of slides. I do want to bring to your attention that all this information, plus other information, is out on our website. If you go to the main page, under quick links, I think it's the third link down. If you click onto that, it'll bring you to the capital project. We're calling it Capital Project 2020. Although the vote is in 2018, the bulk of the work will not begin until 2020, the summer of 2020. So this project was a culmination of a recent update to our building condition survey. It's a requirement by the State Education Department that a building condition survey be done every 5 years. We had a building condition survey, and then we engaged with the architect this past year, Clark Patterson Lee, to look at the building condition survey and update it, make any notes. So we're finishing up. We're in the very final stages of the capital project from 2014. There is work that was initially bid out. Our bids came in over on that, and we had to back out some roofing work, so that's where I'll begin. This project will take care of all the roofing work that did not get included because of the competitive nature of the bids. So the Capital Project 2020, why now? So what are the project goals? It's the continuation of our long-range plan, finish what we started with the capital project of 2014, and that had a lot of energy efficiency, as I mentioned just a minute ago about the roofs, upgrading our windows, doors, and continue to address outdated infrastructure. We have quite a bit of safety and security improvements, and we want to improve and increase instructional space and educational opportunities and improve our athletic areas. Continuing on, why now? The cost of the proposed referendum is $28,700,000. Building aid, how are we funding this? Building aid is approximately 55%. So there's been some questions that have come up already that in neighboring districts they have 87%, and why is it 55%, and our building aid ratio is 69%. So all of these are complicated numbers at the State Education Department and formulas, but the easiest way to explain this is that when you put together a scope of work, you look at what's aidable and what's not aidable. And if everything was aidable, we would be at the 69%. But because not all of the work here is aidable, there's some site work included, that rate drops down to 55% as opposed to 69%. I can tell you we also have our financial planner here this evening and our architect that can clarify questions. So why not wait? Why put something forward? So we're concerned about escalation costs for construction. We've also had the question, well, a lot of this appears to be maintenance. Why include that in a bond referendum? Why not just budget this? With the tax cap that we have now, it's very hard to add, $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 to chunk out the work that needs to be done. So we equate it to getting a home equity loan or refinancing your house to do major improvements, but here we're doing it for the school. So we'll also have the opportunity to possibly leverage our smart bond money. That's authorizations from the state for technology and safety. If done properly, we might be able to use in collaboration with this. We also know that the rates of borrowing are going up. So the longer we wait and the longer this goes out, the more the construction costs and the increase, we could see an increase in cost of borrowing. The cost of this project would be spread out over 15 years. And that, the big question is, what's the tax impact? What's the tax increase? The last project we had was tax neutral. We had debt that we were paying off from when the new buildings were built, middle school and the new high school. So that project, this last project was tax neutral. This one is not. So how much could it cost? And this is an estimation, and I want to be really clear, it's an estimation. We're estimating that it'll approximately cost $120. That's $10 a month for a period over 15 years, but it's a $120 increase to your tax bill for 15 years. But it can be paid out over a long period of $10 a month if you look at it. Some people do budget and pay their taxes through an escrow, and they would see that increase. Some people don't. Some people would see the increase and pay their tax bills that way. I have to preface this by saying that estimation is based on the assessed valuations that exist right now in the school and the equalization rates. And as we know, when we do our budgets, we estimate in January. And very often, equalization rates go up and down, assessed valuations change, so that is an estimation only. So we're saying that could change a bit. So what's included in this capital project? The next 4 slides, and this is all on the website. We have updated work being done to each entrance in the buildings for safety and security. Click for me, Vince. So the first slide is for the elementary school. The main entrance will be redesigned so that there is a more secure entranceway where you can't just walk into the building and then into the hallway. We're actually looking at revamping the offices also to make it much more efficient and feasible for parents and family members to pick up their children in a safe manner. So these are conceptual designs. We have not engaged in final designs because it's costly. So if the project is passed by the voters, we will engage in that, but right now we were not going to spend the money to do that, so these are just conceptual designs. We have one for the middle school. We want to have an entrance revamped to the high school and also to the central office. So Vince was recently at a conference, and in the past, the state education department said, in order for you to get state aid on these entrances, you had to stay within the footprint of the entrance, which meant that for the elementary school and the high school, we couldn't come out a little bit to keep the space of the lobbies intact. However, the state has revisited that because this is a significant initiative that's going on in the state to really enhance the safety and security of your entrances, and they are now willing to give you some state aid, building aid units, BAUs they call them, to calculate in your state aid. So we where we did not know that because they didn't share that with us prior to this past week. We should be able to, and I know some of this sounds like jargon, but I just want to make sure that I'm getting as much information to you as I can. So there might be a change in the building aid. We've estimated our building aid percentage as being very conservative at 55%. So what else is included? Replacing doors throughout the district for improved security and efficiency, replacing various windows to improve efficiency in the building. Moving on, replacing and repairing exterior brickwork and various entrances that you can find. A lot of the brick around the older parts of the building have to be repointed. We are planning on paving an emergency access road to the athletic fields from the back end of the entranceways, and then really repaving the parking lots of the main entrance and also the elementary school playground. You can see we've been doing I think a really good job sealing and coating, but we're starting to see a lot more deterioration. So we have pictures up on the website for that too. There's also some entrance ramps and that retaining wall in the middle school. When you go from the parking lot back to the entrance, there's a lot of cracking, and actually there's been a lot of deterioration of that retaining wall, so that's going to be replaced. We took some pictures of the various concrete walkways. We're not going to rip up all the walkways. We're going to, determine which ones are in the most need with the most cracking and replace those. We have replacement of various exterior stairways and entranceways. If you look at the second entrance to the high school closest to the office, we continually try to do a lot of work with that to try to keep that safe, but we have that there. The three areas that are more instructional in nature for instructional space would be to construct and renovate a new elementary library and media center. If you look at the picture that's projected up there, it's the original library we have. We're planning on the back end of the building, adding some space on and making a more modern 21st century technology-based library with books, but making it more modern. And also the renovation of our elementary school cafeteria. We start lunch, at about 10:30, 10:40, and it goes till about 2:10. And our kids run through quickly with a lot of monitors. So we are planning on expanding that so that we can facilitate meals better and have serving lines. For those of you that remember, when that room was built, it was not built to be a cafeteria. It was built to be a multi-purpose room. Then there was some discussion to add some warming lines in, which we have, but it just doesn't move the students through those lines quickly enough. So that's included too. The next slide shows some renovation as an example to repair some tile around the elementary school classroom sinks. The other instructional space is not in the elementary school, it's in the high school. One of our programs that has the biggest growth is our TV and radio station. And on your way out, if you peek in the door, we have many students working out of a very, very small space. The classes happen in a classroom, but the actual workshop area is very cramped. So the plan is down in the technology wing to take over one of those areas and to put a state-of-the-art workspace in for our educational and TV programs and radio station programs. We did do in this last project some work in the auditorium. If you remember, you go back to look at those pictures, we replaced the rigging system. The high school auditorium stage needed a lot of work. So we put some masonite over that and we replaced the stage. We have new curtains. So the work that, I'll use the example that when you fix one thing in your house, all the other things in the house become glaring of what needs to be done. So we got a lot of feedback from our music teachers and other people that the lights our drama productions. The lights and the sound system need a lot of work in the auditorium. If you look up in the auditorium, the ceiling needs to be done, but we're not going to do that until we complete what the roofing work is. And then if you've had the opportunity to sit in one of the chairs, there are many chairs that are broke. When they purchased and did that renovation, we put in plastic chairs that had, because it was classroom space, that had flip-out tabletops and tablets that you could do work at. So that's the big third area for instructional space in this project. And then the renovation of other instructional spaces, various casework that hasn't been done, which moves me into the last section of the project, which is our athletic fields. So I also got some feedback like, the elementary school is a school that seems to need all the work. Why are we looking at the fields? Why are we looking at the high school? So when we look at, and we had the architects look at, district-wide what the need is, we didn't just focus on the elementary school, we focused on district-wide. So the picture above my head and up on the screen is the existing press box and concession stand, which is extremely old, and it's becoming more and more unsafe. We have a very hard time running a concession stand down there. So this project would include replacing the concession stand and the press box. So remember when I said about state aid, some things are aidable and some things aren't? This is not aidable. So this part of the project is what kicks down the state aid, unless Dr. Timms can convince the state to give us some aid for that, which is unlikely. Replacement of deteriorated fencing at athletic fields. There's work on our baseball fields included. So that concludes the pictures, and there's more pictures on the website, but also up here, and I'm just going to run through this very quickly, additional work that's not pictured. So what's some of the additional work not pictured? Install fire-rated windows in the elementary school, the school bank, and the store that we have there. Install climate control in the music room to improve air quality, upgrade the nurse's office so that we're ADA compatible, and we comply with those regulations. Right now, the bathroom, you can't roll a wheelchair into our nurse's office. Additional work not pictured in the high school. There'll be some upgrades in this media center to allow for more use of tables with technology. We're seeing a lot of schools move to that. Install energy efficient occupancy sensors on unit ventilators. Mitigate moisture penetration through various floors. One example is in the business office. Reconstruct various broken terrazzo. We have great floors in the, they last forever, but there's some cracks that have to be repaired and reconstructed. Replace inefficient electric panels. Replace deteriorated roof access ladders. Install new and reconstruct damaged drainage piping to correct stormwater management issues. Replace insufficient and inefficient main shutoff valves for backflow prevention, and replace the wood fascia along the front of the building. Next time you come through in daylight, if you look on the top of the buildings, you can see the wood fascia is cracked, and it's starting to really deteriorate. Athletics, I mentioned some of these before. We'll be installing bleachers as part of that whole press box concession stand, and the existing bleachers will be used for visitor bleachers. We're going to demolish the dilapidated athletic storage shed, provide new storage. We have very little storage area in this district, and we're constantly moving equipment around, and there's concern that we don't have it secure. Replace end-of-life scoreboard and the flagpole down at the football field. Install new track competition areas such as the pole vault, discus, and shot put. That's on the back end of the track. Regrade and repave parking lot near the Leipold field, and try to remedy drainage issues, although we know we have a lot of data and information to look at there because there's a lot of work that's been done. As I said, these are all conceptual. We'll be going back and looking at the reports and other studies that have been done. replace deteriorated fencing around the Leipold Field, and construct an athletics / buildings and grounds storage building back over in that area. Update gymnasium finishes, reconstruct the baseball and softball fields, including the addition of new backstops, covered dugouts, and remediating drainage issues. Renovate the boys and girls locker rooms at the middle school, including new tiles, flooring, and walls. Construct a new track and field facility, including the drainage and irrigation issues, and install a new natural turf sod field. So that's down at the football field. So I know that there's been a lot of discussion in the community on why don't we have an artificial turf field. The cost for that came in a little bit higher, and the architect did bring to our attention that that whole area down there is in a floodplain. So I'm going to defer to the board president in a moment about that, but right now this project includes upgrading the existing field the way that we have. Additional work, I'm just going to go through this so that you have it, but all of this is on the website for you to look at. Replace remainder of end-of-life roofing, upgrade various restrooms, install new fire mechanisms, provide more ADA compliant upgrades such as stairwells and ramps, replace ineffective and inefficient roof condenser units and roof exhausts that have exceeded their useful life, demolish the Church Street storage, the Church Street building, which was a school, which is now used for storage, which is in very bad shape, putting an additional storage space that we can use for off-site storage. Reconstruct a district main sign on Maple Avenue, install a footbridge to improve safety and connect the athletic field. So this is something that's been talked about a lot. We put this in here. That's still in the floodplain. We're still going to have to get approval from the DEC and the Army Corps of Engineers. This seems a little bit more doable. As far as our architects go initially, but we're still going to have to do feasibility study on that. And that's really just about it, going very quickly. But I really would suggest that if you can all take the time to go out onto the website, there's an email we're accepting questions on. We're trying to get back to people as soon as possible. So the last few questions is, how do you vote? We're going to vote here like we do for a budget vote, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on December 4th. Applications for absentee ballots are available in the central office. You can call Marisol Hempt. She can answer any questions you have. There's some information on here how to get them. Absentee ballots must be received back in the district by 5 o'clock the day of the vote. So just to recap, December 4th, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The referendums for $28,700,000. Information can be found on our website. And we do have a handout in the back, and we have more of these in the central office that includes pictures and some other information with regard to the proposed referendum.
Thank you, Superintendent and Assistant Superintendent Vince Napoli. Just like to, before I open it up for questions, going to address a couple of things here from on behalf of the board. First thing is, for years now, we've been hearing about from different organizations, PTO, and different meetings that we've had, myself and the superintendent, about safety concerns, the way the buildings are constructed, the fact that there's nothing stopping an intruder that can cut down on the time the intruder can get into a building. The board has heard that. We have gone back to our architects and asked, and just for a matter of data, in case you're not aware, in the United States alone this year, since January, and we are only in, and I say only in November because there's still a little bit more time left here in this year, there have been 308 shootings out of 311 days of the calendar year. That is a staggering statistic, and it's not all schools, but it's religious organizations and sanctuaries and workplaces and definitely some schools fit into there as well. As a board, we've gone and taken a look at our safety and our security, and we are committed to the entire district and to our parents and to our residents and to your children and our students to provide the strongest, safest, and securest possible buildings in our district so that your children can go home and your loved ones can come home safely in the unlikely event that there is such a tragedy here in our district. With that being said, you see some of the safety concerns, some of the safety issues that we've tackled in some of our presentations. Again, as Superintendent said, these are preliminary drawings. Obviously, it all depends on whether or not the referendum is passed, and then we could take a look at the actual design and how it's going to be laid out through our architects, and keeping with our goal to keep the building aid as high as possible when it comes back, and that's in the charge of Dr. Timms, the man sitting in the front row there with the tie on. He's charged with that responsibility. So we will do that. In addition, we as a board and myself have taken a lot of phone calls on the athletic fields. And there has been I've received both pro and con as to the idea of having a artificial turf field installed in our district, and what is the possibilities that we can have that. And both, again, I've received numerous calls pro for it and numerous calls con for it. So we have heard you, and we are responding to that. And what we are going to do is establish a committee consisting of community members, Board of Education members, Lou, I'm sorry to tell you that, but you're going to be on this committee, that's our project manager right there, and also Dr. Timms, you can expect to be there as well, and our architects. They will be charged with a specific criteria that's going to be written out for this committee. They will be charged to go and find out if the number one question first and foremost is it feasible, would it be approved by the Army Corps of Engineers and the DEC as to its location right now? And that doesn't mean that they can't look at another location, but as it is, where it is, and possibly running things as they are, they'll be charged with coming up, with an answer to that question. And if that question is yes, it can be done, well, then they'll be charged to go forward and answer several other questions and take a look at and bring back to the Board of Education a complete in-depth analysis, both economically, whether it's economically feasible, whether it is logistically feasible, and what can be done, and what the recommendations are for us to go forward. If that all takes place and everything is green and everything is wonderful, it is our belief as a Board of Education that you, the taxpayers, should decide whether or not you have an artificial turf field in this district or not, based on the criteria and the answers that are provided to us from the educators and from the people around that are charged with handing us this knowledge. It is not for us to decide for you. We would be remiss if we did not let the taxpayers of this district decide for themselves whether or not they want to have an artificial turf field and everything else that comes along with that, along with the maintenance of it, and what the cost. The biggest question is, what is it going to cost? And that's what the taxpayers, the responsible parties who have elected us and charged us with the job of overseeing this, would be charged in making that final determination. But obviously, it's the biggest cost. As you know, we operate under strict guidelines from the state. Albany has said what we can spend and what we can raise in taxes. So we will go forward with this committee. We will be anxious. They will be charged, they will have a deadline to come back to us. And we anticipate that if everything goes good, if it's good and everything is given the green light, we would like to consider proposing a referendum in the spring, sometime late spring, and maybe not. It depends on the timing of it. But again, we did not want to make that final determination. Also, there's been some talk about whether or not obviously, if the referendum passes, we would have bathrooms down there. If you're going to build a state-of-the-art facility down there, you're going to have bathrooms. We certainly don't want porta potties sitting outside of brand new areas down there. So that was a question that came up, and certainly we will look into making sure that those concerns get taken care of, and obviously they have to be ADA compliant. Everything here has to be ADA compliant going forward. But to put that question to rest about, and that really controversial topic about the turf field to rest, this is what we're going to be doing going forward. I will entertain any questions that the public may have. Please step up to the podium and state your name and any questions you may have. Anybody? Mr. Buckwalter, you want to come up? Or, no? JR?
Yeah, has nothing to do about the field or anything. It has to do with finding a modified wrestling coach. I think it's kind of upsetting that you have 15 or 20 children that decided to sign up for modified wrestling this year, and there's no wrestling coach.
JR, can I have you bring that? This is not the public forum that we're going to be doing. That's going to be at 7:30.
Okay.
That's beyond the scope of what this hearing is for.
All right, it had nothing to do with that.
That's
so,
right.
That's okay.
but
That's
it's
okay,
nice
but
to
we
hear,
welcome that
but
question, and she has that.
Thank
We'll
you,
take a look
and
at it.
I'll get back. I have,
because I talked to Kermit about
we're
it. so-
working on it very
Okay.
hard, so we're not,
Okay,
no one's
thank you.
abandoned that.
Okay.
Any questions reference to what we just discussed? Mr. Buckwalter?
Hi, Roger Buckwalter. Just a quick question. Should this go through and we'll go with this project, do you foresee any downtime for classrooms? And if there is, so all the classrooms will be in use the whole time, there won't be any having to relocate students or?
No. So I'll address that. During the last project we had, Roger, we had a lot of work that happened second shift here, like the fire alarm system. I'll use that as an example. We had electricians here from 3 in the evening till 11 at night. So I can tell you that we were really lucky to have the construction management and the architects work together with the contractors, and we did not have any disruption. We replaced many, many feet, if not miles, of piping in the tunnels that we have here, and there was no disruption, even with the roofs too. So we're planning on working around that.
Any other questions about the project as it stands? Yes.
Hi. I'm just curious. You talked about how the roof project, you kind of ran out of money and some things couldn't get done. So with this, just in case you were to run out of funds, is there a priority list?
So as we start designing and we get final costs down, what happens, Ms. North, is that when we went through that process, our bids came in about $2.5 million. It was about $2.5 million over what our projections were. It was a very competitive environment. So we sat down with the board and the architect and the construction manager, and we tried to package out how we can best efficiently move forward. So there will be a prioritized list, and the board will have to decide what that looks like when we get to it. It's hard to say, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do this. We just have to see how the puzzle, so to speak, comes together after the bid documents. But the design phase is going to be very carefully thought out. We're going to get input from all of the departments and community groups to see as we design what we need, and hopefully we'll come in. We don't want to belabor this so that the costs and the escalation, goes up. But we've tried to make some provisions. But yes, there will be a prioritized list. It's hard for us to say right now this would come out or that would come out. Depends what fits into the project.
Any other questions from the public? There being none, is there a need to go back into executive session, or are we good to adjourn to come back in public session?
Motion to go back into executive session.
For the purpose of
Specific personnel?
personnel matters, is there a second? All in favor? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? No one? We're adjourned until 7:30. Ready to call this meeting to order, please? We already dispensed previously in open session with the Pledge of Allegiance, so we will go on to the acceptance of minutes for the October 29, 2018
moved.
meeting. It's been moved.
Second.
Second it. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. Minutes of October 23rd, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, no one. Motion carries unanimous. Public forum? Call to the podium, Michael Ballantyne. Please remember, those in the public forum, you have 3 minutes. No matters of personnel or specific student or specific staff members will be addressed.
Thank you. My name's Mike Valentine. I've been a resident of the district a little over 30 years, and when I moved to the district, my oldest was 4 years old. And I had issues at that time and what appeared to be a lack of maintenance in the facility. And I also, had an issue with the way the board at the time was dealing with budgetary issues and a building project at the time. And, when we got to the last building project, the $14.4 million project, I saw again issues that were maintenance issues, issues that were repair issues that were being included in a bondable item that we're paying for the next 15 years. And I kind of, let it go because some items that were in there were necessary. But then you piggyback on top of that this new capital project, and far too many of the issues in there are repair or maintenance issues. And that leads to this very low state aid ratio. And I think it's irresponsible for a board to present a project that has so much in it that is not aidable. When we look at some items that are in there, if you look at the 2015 building condition survey, what was recommended at the time, there was only $3.6 million worth of repairs recommended, but yet we have such a large project. We look at things like the athletic field development, which is not aidable, and there's over $5 million worth of improvements out there in a floodplain. We spent money on a light pole property years ago, only to find out that none of it is usable. And to spend any more money over there is just throwing money away. There are numerous items I could spend days on this, but I do implore the board to review what they've looked at, and those items that are not aidable should not be included in this project. If you look at the referendum that Pine Bush School District has, by the same architects, the issues that were looked at and that were recommended to that board are the same issues that we're looking at here today. And I have a problem with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ballantyne.
Thank you.
I have Wayne Lonstein next on football, but we have you scheduled on the agenda for a presentation from Modified. You have separate issues, Mr. Lonstein?
Yes and no. I was wondering if there's any sort of leeway. We're here to celebrate the team first and to discuss something. Is there any way that they can move this particular public comment after the presentation, once the kids are done? Is that a possibility later on in the project?
Why don't you let the other?
I'm going to let the...
Because it's about the kids, and,
Okay.
and so I'd rather do it that way, and if it has to be at another time,
Take
so
a
be
motion?
it.
well, what we're going to do is let the other speakers go first, and then we'll bring you back. We'll have the kids go after that, and then bring you back after that.
That would be wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We have Francis Roller.
So I got one quick one about your building on Church Street that you guys want to knock down and build another building in its place. I've been here before about it. Why can't we do something between us and the fire district on that property?
What does he mean?
I mean, we'd be willing to sit and talk with you guys. I think it's, I know you need the space, and we have space. The fire district, we'd like to sit down and seriously talk to you about it.
Why don't you make an appointment with the superintendent, and we'll be willing to sit down and talk to you.
Okay, thank you.
Patrick Wardinski.
I just have one quick question. You talked a lot about security in the earlier agenda. My question to you is, has it been looked upon recently about going back to having resource officers in the school?
Lisa, you want to answer that?
Yep. So we have had discussions about it. We have a budget process coming up. We'd have to budget those funds and determine what, the agencies we have to deal with. There's two different kinds of resource officers now. There's school patrol officers that some schools are looking at, and then school resource officers. So we just got some information. I'm sure that will be a point of discussion during the budget process.
Okay.
Okay, with that in mind, we will wait on hearing from Mr. Lonstein. We'll bring up Mr. Lonstein, Pat Wardinski, and Jim Wright for the modified football team recap.
Do you-
Thanks. Yeah, we're just on YouTube. Yeah, if you turn the volume up so it'll go over the- I'll have them on that. Second one's great, yeah. Thanks.
Okay, it doesn't get loud enough.
All right, thanks. So, we're here very proudly. The youngest member of the staff that you hired, Coach Wright, is, you'll hear him in the video a little bit. We edited out parts where he fell in the mud. But let me tell you something about this man. He is a gem. What a gem you have in this community with this guy. He is all heart, all soul. Pat and him quarrel like Tom and Jerry. They love each other. And Pat, I mean, these two guys to kind of work with and cover my crazy schedule are heart and soul about instilling values in these kids. And we have them here. I'm going to ask very quickly for them to line up right next to the camera. Hurry up and introduce themselves because they've earned it, and then we'll run a quick video for you. But we're here to honor them and to say thank you for supporting us in a 7-game schedule where, hurry up, boys, girls. Hurry up, face the board.
Mr. Lonstein?
Have them turn around, face the cameras.
Oh,
Yeah.
face the cameras?
Or the board, whichever, but if they're going to announce their name so people can hear it.
All right.
Where you want them to
Bobby,
start.
announce your name right here.
Take
Say
the
my
mic.
name is.
Javier Pomales.
Louder.
My name is Casimiro Pomales.
My name is Jacob Roller.
My name is Ryan Thompson.
My name is Christian Zemanetsky.
My name is Nathan Town.
My name is Nevaeh Roller.
My name is Brock Solstrom.
My name is Matthew Cognado. My name is Jacob Wright.
My name is Justin Conacher.
My name is Chris Picaris.
My name is Richard Falcone.
My name is Antonio Demonio.
My name is Devin Burbank.
Thank you. So we wanted to say thank you on behalf of the modified team for allowing us to have an extended schedule and which allowed us to work with these great kids and have opportunities. And coaches, you want to say anything before we start the video? All right, you guys can take a seat now. So, without further ado, we have a little video presentation. I don't know the names of the schools, but I know who we beat. Rondout, Marlboro, Walkill, FDR, New Paltz, and we played and should have beaten Saugerties and the pièce de résistance as we got a chance to play in the stadium at Middletown, and they were in shock. And the majority of highlights come from that Middletown game. So the bottom line is this: there is a future for Ellenville football, a bright future with some possible Division I talent, if we invest in it and if we support them. So I wanted to say thank you on behalf of the coaches. Give them a quick hand. So here you go. Enjoy, folks. Sorry for some of the spicy language. It was Coach Wright.
But now that just proves one thing, Gabriel, you have been playing up to your full potential.
That's right.
Kicking the hell out of me.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah.
Who's this? Who's? You go in the porta potty. Come back out of the porta potty. You know what we call that? Scissor to scissor. everybody.
We got a call from the New Paltz coach thanking us for the classiness of how we treated us seriously, potentially serious, thank goodness he's okay. What good representatives the Ellenville football modified players were, and that was the most important clip of the whole season, about how an injured player from the other team, a lot of people would leave and not their problem. They all stood around, clapped, and you should be proud of them. So thanks again. They earned it, and we appreciate all your help.
Coach Lonstein, on behalf of the Board of Education, we are extremely proud, and to all the students, we're very proud of all the players, staff members, Coach Wright, Coach Wardinsky, and everybody that you had helping out this year. What a fine representation. We look forward to many successful years, and even if they're not, it's all about character and it's all about how you get the job done, and you guys have a lot to be proud of tonight, so we take our hats off to you on behalf of the Board of Education. Thank you for your outstanding character. So without further ado, Mr. Lonstein, you're up.
No. Oh, yes. I thought he was done. I'm sorry. So this is his phone thing.
No, it's public forum.
So just a brief, I know that there was an earlier discussion about the improvement project, and there's no question that improvements are needed. It's no secret that we all have sort of economic duress in the front of our minds. Your responsibility is to protect the taxpayers, educate the students, keep everybody safe and happy, and educate them. And that's no easy task. What I'm here tonight to ask is, and I've asked some board members, I've discussed with the superintendent, my concern is that we're spending $28 million for things that may be important, may be safety related, but don't go anywhere to where the students are actually day-to-day benefiting, the student athletes. Chief, we've discussed this before. I think that one of the most important things we can do for children to keep them away from opioids is to keep them busy, keep them engaged, keep them in sports. It's a very big challenge. And so, as you know, I've been a proponent of some sort of more significant athletic facility. And the issue of a floodplain and turf is all well and good. What would make sense in my mind, and I think I've shared it with you, is actually bring the whole facility up right next to the school, so we could eliminate making a bridge over the Leopold field, redo the baseball field, put it on the same turf as the field hockey, football, baseball, and soccer, and have something available for the community and for regional events, much like Middletown, Kingston, everywhere else does, except if we went side by side with the turf, we'd be able to have two at one time. In addition, you'd be able to be a tournament venue, and actually make money for tournaments, for baseball, soccer, travel, and all those things. Would there be expenses? Of course there would. Probably be, I'm guessing, $10 to $15 million. But I suspect a lot of the people in here would love to see that $10 or $15 million spent if it meant $5 or $10 more on their tax bill, if they knew that their children were going to be able to play and benefit on those fields. And the truth is, we only have 2 people outside maintaining the fields. It's impossible. The baseball field has inherent problems. The football field has inherent problems. The fact that the football field with night events is that far removed from the school makes it a security concern, as you're well aware of. And so I've asked a very tall ask, which is consider going back to the public and getting input, and I understand that was discussed, but consider doing it before we go to the December 4th vote. I understand that it would be expensive. I know that there are zoning and secra and attorneys and architects, but at the end of the day, it's more important to get it right than it is to get the right price. And having two children that I don't get to see every day, because I have the good fortune with my wife to be able to get them to a facility with the sort of opportunities that they're presented with, makes me only think that all those other children that I coach should be entitled to have the same physical facilities that every other kid is having. Rondout is going to go to turf. Pine Bush is going to go to turf. Middletown's turf. Now, turf is not the be-all, end-all, but it's a lot easier to maintain than grass is. And it's far more durable. It extends the season. And it can engage the community more because you don't have to worry about trampling it. So I know it's a very tough decision, but you know what? You're in elected positions just like I am when I do my job. Sometimes you have to make the tough decision. I would respectfully ask that you reconsider this vote until you put it all together as a package. And one final other thing. We talk about school security. Given from where I sit in my role, I do a lot of consulting outside of the area on homeland security and cybersecurity. The model is no longer just secure doors. In fact, that sometimes locks children in and they become locked into a situation where they become targets and victims with no way out. I know some board members may be against guns. I'm not a fan of guns either, but I'm a fan of guns when it comes to slaughtered children or slaughtered people. I've asked some board members, I've talked with administration. Pennsylvania has in their schools the officers that were discussed with an armory with trained expert officers to prevent the horrible prospect of somebody gaining entry. And we've learned twice in the last year that I'm aware of people who have access, legal access to this school, theoretically being available to be threats. So it doesn't matter how robust the security is, if they have a way in, they can do the damage. So we need to be able to mitigate, and now the response is now identify and shoot. Don't hide and wait for troops, and that's after Parkland. So given all that scope, I would just ask respectfully and with the greatest of respect for all of you, because I know you have the best interests of all of us at heart, to rethink where you are, and better to be right than fast. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lanson. I'm going to ask the next presenter, Mr. Andre Spinelli, Jennifer Alger, and Maxwell Mead to come up to the podium and speak about the 8th grade Boston trip.
Thank you for having us tonight to hopefully get the 8th grade trip approved and passed through. Mead, and we brought along some class officers as well.
Good evening, and it's nice to see everybody. So we are here ready to have another Boston trip approved. We are making a couple of changes this year. Before we get into those, though, I just wanted to take a moment to introduce our officers. We have Shama Patel, Maya Espinoza, and Lizzie Jacobs. They are representing the 8th grade class this year. Everything is the same with the exception of changing out the company. We decided that we wanted to keep our money local, so we are hoping to be able to go with CD Trips this year, which is out of Liberty. And I know some of you are familiar with Judy and Gary and Jack Strassman. The trip is basically the same. We're visiting the aquarium, we are visiting the square, we're headed off to do a whale watch on our second day, and the kids will get an opportunity to spend some time at the beach, and they'll have the opportunity to have a lobster dinner, just as we always do. And you have, I believe, the itinerary in your packet for you to take a look at. And we're here for any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Any board members have questions? about this trip? Yes.
I've
Hi,
never
Iris.
been on a duck tour. Can you tell me something about what they are?
So the duck boat tour is actually on the Charles River, and the Charles River is, yeah, it's about a 15-minute duck boat tour. It's in a, and when we say river, it's a little, I think, deceiving because it's a small area. The boats are amphibious, so they drive us to a launch ramp, and then we go off into the waterway. Yeah, probably about 15, 20 minutes. The kids get a historical perspective of the area from the guides. There are 2 tour guides. There's a safety person that's on board, a designated, and this was just new, I think, last year. It must be something that Massachusetts passed. So there's not only the driver, but there's an additional staff member as well on the boat, along with the chaperones. Lisa did ask me to get some safety records, and we did get that, and I think I forwarded on to the superintendent's office. Because I know that it's been in the news, and there have been a few issues with it, but.
So Jen, I don't remember seeing it, so if we can just
Okay, I
touch
think
base on
I
it.
forwarded it, maybe it didn't come through, I'll send it again.
I just
but
want to
we
make sure
definitely have it.
that we include it in the next board
Yep, and
packet.
it was a maintenance record, you know, details of what they do and, you know, their processes, and I can send that again.
Right, so there's just been some concern voiced about, you know, we hear about safety in the news and duck boats.
Absolutely,
and
yep.
So we just would like to make sure that the tour company has done some due diligence on the company and the safety records and of the driver, of
Yep, and
whoever's
then we
involved
get
in this.
the 19A is the abstract for the bus.
That's
We
right.
get that, that's released, I believe, 24 hours to 48 hours before we leave, so that's always something that we get. And, insurance information,
Right.
but we have that, and I'll make sure it gets to you, but we do have that.
Yes, John?
I noticed the price point dropped significantly the more students we have. Do you know approximately how many students will be going on the trip?
So it's tough to say. Last year, we ended up with 83, which was a pretty decent number, but the class last year had 140 students. This class, I want to say, has 118. We're hoping that our numbers are still high enough to try to keep the price down. Something that does happen, though, when the numbers drop below a certain number, and Judy, maybe you guys can help me, for the bus, if we drop to a single bus, if our numbers are that low, the cost drops quite a bit, because now you're only paying for 1 bus versus 2 buses. So that will change, but we're hoping to get as many kids as we can to go on the trip. We've already started fundraising, and it looks like we have a big interest. So once we get approved, we'll send out the information, and you know, we'll have some concrete numbers.
Anybody else? No? If not, are we ready to
Make a
amend the
motion to move
agenda?
11.5.
Second.
You want to move 11.5 to
Vote on it
amend the
now.
agenda?
Correct.
All right, any discussion on amending the agenda? All those in favor? Opposed, no one? I'll now entertain a motion to approve the
So moved.
amended.
Second.
And it's resolved that the 8th grade trip Boston to Cape Cod on June 4th, 2019 through June 6th, 2019 be approved. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, no one? Have a great time.
Thank you very much. Anybody want to come along?
It would be nice if they did. We'll talk to Lisa about it. We go on to reports, information, and correspondence. I have nothing this evening. Board membership? Wayne?
Just, we had 2 gentlemen speak tonight, Mr. Lonstein and Mr. Valentine. If we could just call them in and have conversations with them. I want to make sure Mr. Lonstein understands, you know, the conversation that was had beforehand. I don't believe he was here, just to see if that's the kind of thing he was speaking about. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Student, right, we have a report from the student representative.
Mr. Story, can you hand me that? And then, I think they left it at the table. You know, our students are pretty busy with a lot of different events and tests and activities. So the highlights in this week's report is on November 6th in the high school cafeteria, the seniors held their spaghetti dinner. And last Saturday on November 3rd, the Think Pink Cancer Walk was held by the Student Council. Class of 2022 is selling apple cider donuts, 2 dozen for $20. For sports, all varsity, JV, and winter sports have started. Many are trying out and hoping to make the teams. And as far as clubs go, many clubs are in full swing now. Some examples of popular clubs are Student Council, Key Club, Yearbook Club, Chem Club, and the environmental clubs. Key Club is currently holding their Thanksgiving food drive. And that's what we have.
Thank you. I know we have a dodgeball tournament coming up, right? November 30th?
November 30th.
The police department has responded. We are sending a team, hopefully not to get killed by, but we're sending a team. Superintendent Lisa Wiles?
Okay, so I have one item tonight. I know there's been some articles and some concern and discussion about the passing times in the middle school and high school being decreased from 4 minutes to 3 minutes. And I just wanted to provide some background. You know, no one inquired with us on, you know, formally why this happened before the articles were written, although we've discussed it at various board meetings. So the State Education Department passed some regulations this year. Not only is there a requirement of 180 days, but now there's a requirement that school be in session for the middle school, or actually 7 through 12, for 990 hours, and for elementary schools, 900 hours. So it was a daunting task, less for the elementary school, but more for the high school, to come up with the 990 hours. Even though our instructional periods are 47 minutes long compared to other instructional periods in other schools at 42, you still had to count out the minutes and the hours to get to the 990. So I just wanted to share that this wasn't arbitrary and capricious. Sit down with the administrators to discuss why we would just decrease the passing time. In order to maximize our state aid and not get any deducts, we had to count the minutes and the hours, and we had to come up with the 990. Hence, because our instructional time is maxed out at 47, we looked at different scenarios and we decreased the passing time by a minute, as did many other schools. I will tell you that the teachers are using some great strategies in the classroom. Many of our teachers have been trained in brain-based trainings to really maximize instructional time and to give students all that they need in the classroom. I think it's a misnomer to think that it's just all chalk and talk in the classrooms today. I think our teachers are going to many trainings and provided with great strategies to help our students stay on task and to have instruction delivered. So I just wanted to be clear about that. Wasn't just a random decision. You know, we really had to abide by the unfunded mandates that the State Education Department and the state government has put forward. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Napoli?
I have nothing to report today.
Ms. Angela Urbina Medina.
I don't have a report this evening.
Thank you. We'll move on to personnel resolutions for this evening. 6.1, on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools be resolved that Alan Tibet's start date be amended to reflect November 19, 2018 through June 30, 2019, or until the student no longer needs the services, whichever is earlier.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, no one. Motion carries unanimous. 6.2, upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Rihanna Fagan's request for non-paid child rearing leave be extended until January 28, 2019.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Seconded. Discussion?
Is this an extension of the previous leave?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. 6.3, upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Mark Desarm be appointed as a long-term substitute teacher at a contractual rate of $54,824, step 1, bachelor's plus 0, effective September 4th, 2018 through June 30th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, no one? Motion carries unanimous. 6.4, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved the following salary reclassifications, graduate credits and degrees as stipulated in the ETA contract be approved and prorated effective September 4th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. 6.5, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be resolved that the elementary and middle school extended day program personnel be approved at a rate of $42 per hour work for 18-19 school year.
Move the list.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one. Motion carries unanimous. 6.6, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be resolved that the co-curricular personnel as set forth on the list below be approved at a contractual rate listed for the 18-19 school year. There is one Raymond Younger.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. 6.7, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that the following inspectors be approved for a special district meeting to be held on December 4th, 2018 at a rate of $200 per day.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, no one? Motion carries unanimous. 6.8, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be resolved that the following teacher be appointed for June Regents Review at a contractual rate of $55 per hour work, not to exceed 3 hours per week per subject until effective April 1st, 2019 through June 17th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
Do we have support for our January regents for a review for all the subjects?
I believe so. I'll double check it. I think at the previous meeting.
We did, I thought there was a couple that were still missing.
I think we filled
filled them
the
all?
areas
Okay.
that were requested.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, no one? Motion carries unanimous. Move on to budget.
Motion to move 7.1 and 7.2.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Raymond?
I have a question for Mr. Napoli. When I was reviewing his paperwork, I came across a name that I was not familiar with on the special aid list, and little odd name, Julia, well, it's check number 1095, Julia Dickman Andrus Memorial. Question I have for you, is that a person or a
No,
school?
that's the Andrews School, and those two, that check, there were two checks, rate adjustments from the state for $178 each. It's a rate adjustment that the state goes back and they adjust, private schools adjust the tuition for a student that was attending that in July and August of 2017.
Andrus School?
Andrews School. Yeah, if you Google them, you'll actually see it. It's odd. When I first looked at it as well, it looked like it was like a scholarship or something, but it's not. That's the name of the school.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's what I came up with too in my research. And on the second one, the second question I have is what I consider a rather large check for chimney service.
Mhm.
Could you talk us through that?
Sure. So when we had the domestic boiler serviced this year, a lot of the piping was actually deficient. So we had to replace the piping in addition to getting the chimney cleaned, and then we had to have them come back because the roofs that were being done over the boiler rooms, they had to cut the roof in, and they had to come back and put the new chimney in, and then cut it back in, and then work with the roofer. So we won't have to do that again for a couple of years.
Okay, so it wasn't a cleaning service. It was more.
Well, it started out a cleaning service, but we haven't had the chimneys cleaned in a couple of years. And when we got in there and started to do the work, we found that the pipes are actually in pretty rough shape, so we had them replaced. So it wasn't just the cleaning service itself, it was the cost of the materials.
Would you know what the normal charge on that is? Like, for example, what can we expect next year?
What did we pay last year? What can we expect
Well,
next
we
year?
haven't done it in a couple of years. Actually, we haven't done it since I've been in this job. It's been in the budget every year, but we actually haven't had it done. But now that we were doing a lot of the work in the boiler room, we decided it was time to actually bring in a company. We put out quotes for it, and
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
When we do it the next time, hopefully I'll remember to let you know what the cost is to compare it to what it was this time.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed, no one. Motion carries unanimous. On to policy resolutions.
Motion to move 8-1 and 8-2.
Second.
Been moved and seconded on policy resolutions. There are several. Any discussion? Iris?
I just would like the superintendent to tell us how many more policies we have.
I think we're down to 7 or 8 policies. So tomorrow, the administrators have a meeting. There are 5 policies that we'll be reviewing. There's nothing else on the agenda. Oh, Ms. Urbina has one item, but we'll be plowing through those and then ready to go to the policy committee. We're ready to go to the policy committee again, so I envision probably 2 or 3 meetings and we're done.
And I just wanted to point out that we haven't forgotten about the social media policy.
We have not. That is on the
definitely
agenda.
have it in the,
But we want, the
on deck.
discussion was that we'd like the whole committee of the policy committee to be there to discuss it.
Yeah.
And we have some samples.
Thank you.
Any further discussions on the policies? If not, all those in favor? Opposed, no one. Motion carries unanimous. On to student IEPs, 9.1.
Motion to move 9-1 and 9-2.
Second.
9.1, 9.2 have been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, no one. Motion carries unanimous. Under construction resolutions, 10.1.
Motion to move 10-1 and 10-2.
Second.
Motion to move 10.1, 10.2, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, no one. Motion carries unanimous. Under other.
Motion to move 11-1 through 11-4.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on any of these? If not, all those in favor? Opposed, no one. Motion carries unanimous. 11.5 has already been approved. Mark your next calendar, your calendar rather, for the next meeting date is November 27th, 2018. I wish every one of you a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving and holiday. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Well, first I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn in honor of the veterans, in honor of Veterans Day we just had, and all the veterans who have served our country so proudly, and those that have lost their lives.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed, no one. Motion carries unanimous. We are adjourned.